Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is November 19th already, 6 days from Thanksgiving, 35 days from Christmas. Hi, Rodney. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic.
Yeah, good,
The
good.
end of the year update. Man, can you believe it? It's already end of 2024.
I,
It's crazy.
I hadn't even think about that till just a second ago. I was like, golly. So, now we all know that you're a San Francisco fan. That's a good thing. How you feeling about Brock? Feeling good?
They're struggling right now. The whole team's struggling, but I feel fine about Brock, individually, but the team's not doing it. The team's just kind of struggling. They've letting several wins they've been leading in the fourth quarter and letting wins escape us.
Right. Yeah. Well, but if you think about the Titans, you probably feel better about them then, right?
I'm not a Titans fan, so that's
No
that's
kidding. That's what I mean.
this is perfect. Yeah, I don't even hardly follow them anymore. It's crazy.
Aren't they? Aren't they?
If they're doing good, I pull for them. You know what I'm saying? Like if the city was
Punk.
doing good, I pull for them, but not like I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. Well, they're 2-8. 2-8. I mean, it's like I don't even. It's like yeah, they're not. I don't even watch them. Because
So are the Predators. I think the Predators may be next to last in the NHL so far.
but didn't they just win? I think that didn't they just win the Stanley
It
Cup?
was about 5 years ago they went to the Stanley Cup.
Oh, it felt sooner than that, or whatever.
It's
Well,
been a minute.
anyway. Now he's got, I got all kinds of I'm into basketball now, apparently. So, I got Paige buckets at UConn. We're watching Caitlin Clark doing golfing, right? And we got the Iowa Hawkeyes, which is
Yeah.
her old team, and they've got a new one in there. Her name is I know this name, Olsen. Lucy Olsen looks just like. Anyway, basketball. Who knew?
Nice. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So we're here for housing. Sorry, anybody that
We're
tuned
here for
in.
anything. You
It's
can
not
tune
the
in.
sports.
Yeah.
It's not the sports channel, though. We could dip into that as we just did. So, my name is Andy Elliott. I'm a realtor here in Williamson County. I'm with my best bud, Rodney Wilds. He's a loan officer with First Bank, also Williamson County. And our whole idea is we just share our opinions and thoughts about what's going on in the housing market, which has been fairly odd. It's been tough this year, but it's been stable, not good, but stable here this last few months. And our whole goal is to just have a chat about that. And if you have questions about lending or real estate in general, you know how to get a hold of us because this is YouTube and everything's in the description box. We'd be happy to talk to you. Email, text, phone call, whatever you like. So we generally start out this way, and I've got two choices. I don't know which I'm going to go with today. It's going to be this one. I like. All right, here we go. And we pop it up, and with Pip, there he is. Bing. There we go.
All right. Here we go. Today you can see the U.S. mortgage-backed securities are up 12 basis points, which is good. It means that the pricing's trying to get a little bit better. The 10-year Treasury's just down 4 basis points there, but we are in. I'll scroll down a little bit so you can see we are in a very wide range here. This floor right here, floor of support, and then we can go all the way up to the 200-day moving average. And there's just a lot of movement and a lot of volatility right there that can be done. As you see, it's continuing the same trend of volatility while we're in this no man's zone. We really would like to break above that barrier right there and get to a good spot for
Right.
maybe some support so the rates won't bounce around so much. But the reason, the reason for the improvement is just the growing tensions right now between Ukraine and Russia. People are trying to be a little bit more conservative in their investing, and that's kind of helped the rates
Really?
a little bit last few days. Yes, with the growing, with U.S. I guess saying there, when the big man over there mentions the word nuclear, it tends to put everybody on a little bit of an edge. So, and that's what's happened, and that's why the interest rates are declining a little bit in our favor. It's a good thing, but it's for the wrong reasons, I guess.
Oh man, well said. Uh, yeah, no
So,
kidding.
yeah,
The where am I? There we go. Um, can I extrapolate that? I'm not trying to be a
yeah.
up any dust, but I mean, are you saying that a war would lower rates? I mean, can we infer that from what you said?
No, I think just from now, from Putin saying his comments after America's, what was crazy headline was, America allows Ukraine to send missiles to Russia. And I'm
Right.
like, first of all, I didn't know we were in charge of their military, but we must be since we're giving them everything, right? So I guess we're saying it's okay for them to release it into Russia. And Russia was like, well, just said, if you attack me from a certain distance or whatever, I have a nuclear capability, and then that's kind of what set the market on edge.
No kidding. That just boy, you said it best though. I mean, it's a good thing, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
I mean, we should
yeah,
needle point that somewhere, because
yeah.
God,
It's
I mean,
you never get a break. It's like is it a little bit of a break in interest rates? But it's a daily change. So to go back to your question, no, I don't think it's signaling anything long term. Besides, if some of the other parts of the world affect our economy, I don't know how it would necessarily do it. It doesn't necessarily mean that but that's what it's doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Like when people found out about it, is they want to get a little bit more, I guess, security, and
yeah,
30-year mortgage-backed securities and bonds are better. Gold, they're doing
yeah,
gold. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Squirrel away your acorns in case things really. Yeah, no, that makes
yeah,
sense. I wish I was more of an investor. It's just not something that I grew up with. Meaning, I mean, I invest in my own business and stuff, but not
yeah,
like what you're talking about. And that would be that's got to be an interesting psychology because I listen to these guys a lot, on the business channels. I'm looking for insights and things, and that's that's really interesting. I mean, there's a lot. Not so this isn't a political thing, but it's whatever we want, I guess, as long as you're
yeah.
enjoying it.
Yeah, I
the
mean, it's like, when the president, like, say, whatever, we got a new president elect coming in. And so people are going to be jumping on the stocks that they think are going to be doing good. Let's say
Yeah,
if their energy, if you just said, okay, well, knowing what I'm betting Exxon and some of our local or not local American oil companies do good. You know what I'm saying? I bet he brings some of that stuff back or whatever. So, it may not be necessarily that oil company, but if you're in touch with that sort of thing, you can kind of be vice versa. If you might want to sell that stock if a different president got in.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
amazing how many things are changing in the background with this presidential shift coming up. I mean, people are making their moves, including. I have to talk about this because it just
it's
I don't want
buzz.
to say it bothers me, but it agitates me is probably a fair word. Agitation doesn't mean anything other than it bothers me. Is the immigration thing because there's a whole crew of them coming our way, good, better, and different. I'm not judging. I'm not saying anything. But now that we got a new guy coming in the office, like what the report is, half of them peeled off and headed back. I mean, just the word that we've got a different under new management, so to speak. There's
Yes.
different choices being made already. It's going to be. I'm telling you, with this and these, it's like this. He's doing these these picks, these cabinet picks, like it's a lightning round on a game show. Secretary of Defense, bing. State Department, ding. Jeez, you got more than a minute. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, you gotta, the ones who paid for those have to get them. You know what I'm saying? The ones who donated all that money, they're like, "Hey, I need my cabinet pick now."
Yeah,
If
here's
the
my
way that works,
receipt.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Is this where I turn in the invoice now, or how does
Yeah.
that work?
Here was my $2 million plate luncheon I went to 6 weeks ago.
It's going to be, I'm telling you, real estate is going to be crazy. I don't want to, it's going to be an interesting thing to watch here in the next year. It's going to be interesting because I got the feeling as we head into this, the first topic today is about for sale by owner. Because I thought if we're going to get weird, let's go for sale by owner because that can be some weird stuff. But I mean, I get the feeling that there's going to be people going into office, that there's going to be stuff done. Does that mean it's all done well? I don't know. But if stirring things up means anything, my bet is that we're going to have some things get stirred up here in this next couple of years. Well, our show will turn surely political after a while. Housing is interesting, but listen to this.
Yeah. Well, if the world keeps going crazy, anyways, we won't be talking about real estate. We can just talk about Iran and Israel and Ukraine and Russia and everywhere else that's going, bombing each other to death.
Yeah.
But
China pressing their issue down in Hong Kong. It sounds like they're, man, I mean, that's like everybody's posturing, for the change in management in this country. Everybody's going, wait.
China's out of time though. They had their time when Trump wasn't in office. So I bet Taiwan feels a little bit safer right now.
Yeah. if she is watching,
yeah.
You don't know where I live, right?
Yeah, they're sponsoring our show.
Oh God, don't say it. Oh jeez. That just got translated someplace. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about in our buzzy show here, the housing market buzz. Again, the idea for the show is I just try to catch topics that are interesting currently. And with the way the market's going on, with the NAR lawsuit settlement and everything changing in that way, there's been huge earthquake, seismic differences for real estate agents. And some will say, and I will say, there's really two schools of thought. There's a large spectrum of responses for real estate agents and consumers in the housing market right now. And what that is you've got one side that said, man, this feels just like pre-lawsuit. It feels the same to me. It doesn't seem like much has changed. We're having different conversations. We're talking about commissions more. We're very transparent. Everything's up front. That's one side. And then on the other side, there's agents that are saying, the world is falling apart. I can't make my mortgage. My kids are hungry and I don't know what to do. I mean, it's happening on both sides, So that means that everybody's looking for options. They're trying to figure out this market and the best way through, like humans do. We adapt and we move forward, right? I think is pretty much the way it is. And so for this article, and I thought it was kind of interesting. We'll do it this way for just a second. It's selling your home for sale. Now, full disclosure in this article is written by a real estate agent, by a realtor down in Florida. But she covers some really good points. Now, I'm the kind of realtor that when you read things like, you're sure that there's a bias. And when you read this, if you read it word for word, there's absolutely a bias in here. And I'm here to say, ignore the guy behind the curtain. I mean, if you want to sell your house yourself, you want to try it, go ahead. You can try it. I'm not here to tell you to scare you. I mean, there's people out there, and I'm not a fan of this. And I think one of the things the reason I get along with people in terms of real estate is I'm pretty transparent. I'm a pretty honest guy. And there's some posts out there about the 175 things that agents do to sell your house. Oh, please. You know, I mean, they really load up to make it
Yeah.
seem like it's a hardship. Now, it's tricky, you know, and you've got to have done it before. But I'm not that guy that's going to give you a list of 176 things to scare you to death, you know. And I've got a story about that. I'll get to it in just a minute. But so here's the article, and we'll read bits of it and then respond to it. So we're going to change this a little bit. Good. Okay, look at that. It's 2024. The stock market's still marching to new highs. We have a president-elect removing the executive branch uncertainty for the next 4 years. I thought that was a good phrase. As you drive down our streets down there in Florida, there's tons of for sale signs everywhere. So everyone must be selling. From these data points, it's easy to see why some conclude it's a golden time to sell a home for sale by owner. Rodney, have you had, do you have a lot of for sale by owners come through that you do loans for the buyers on their other side?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot. I think the national average is like 7% sell them or try to sell them for sale by owner.
Right.
Something like that. So no, I have them, but not a lot.
But you're familiar. I mean, my question is, when that happens, do you have a lot of extra? I don't want to say paperwork. That sounds like it's a.
Yeah, whenever there's a for sale by owner, it's for me it's not for me it's not very good when the client is getting a mortgage and trying to deal with selling their house. Like they're
Right.
used to having to go through the process of getting a mortgage. It's, you do that, not on a regular basis, but it's not an overwhelming task. But selling your house when, without the assistance of selling your house is extremely difficult. They never know, the people never know really what the laws are and what the laws are according to your paperwork and how it affects mortgages, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that just goes by the wayside. So, a lot of times there's contractual issues and things like that between two people. But yes, it's not a very great experience. It's like, even when the people get through it, I don't think they're like, man,
Yeah. I know that when you and I talk about loans, for the most part, unless it's something that I'm completely unfamiliar with, which doesn't happen all that often. So I haven't asked you that VA question for years. Remember, I used to ask that every. How do I close that? Jesus, I could never figure that thing out. But I mean, generally, when you and I are having conversations, it's almost shorthand, and then I'll go through and explain for the consumer to some degree what to expect, and then hand them off to you. So, I mean, I take them through grade school, and then you take them to college, so to speak. But that's
it's there's a lot. And as we go through the order, we can talk about there's a lot of reasons there's more reasons to sell your house for sale by owner than in reality, it just doesn't check out. Like, you just see the money, but there's so many things right now going in the market that you have to deal with to try to do that on your own. It just requires a savvy person, somebody that knows what they're doing, and somebody that can handle the calls and is not going to be emotional. It's just a long list of it. You almost have to be a real estate agent, honestly.
Yeah, and even then, that doesn't mean you won't get in trouble. And it sounds like I'm piling on. I'm not. These are the views of I've been doing this 20 years, and I know Rodney's been doing it more than that. And we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's an argument worth having, because believe me, over my career, I've talked to a lot of people that have tried to go for sale by owner. And now with the new commission structure, it's not a new commission structure. Strike that. I take that back. But with the new rules, on commissions. There was a person that I respect a lot said really with buyers being liable for commissions now more than what they used to be, meaning that there seems to
Mm.
be a heightened awareness. He said you're dealing with a for sale by owner that's a buyer now. I mean that's kind
Yeah.
of how that's turned out. I was like, man, you're right. It's just a for sale by owner, but on the flip side, and man, oh man. So um,
Yeah, and I'll
again,
jump. I don't want to give the article away. I'll jump in. There's a couple more points I really liked in the article that struck home that I've seen personally, and
mhm,
that people don't think about because I think for sale by owners get a bad rap. The
yeah,
the 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 problem is that most of the people aren't qualified to do the job. Like to even if it's they're qualified to own the house, but selling it is. We'll talk. I don't want to give it away. We'll go in the article. And I'll jump in.
yep. So here's one more fun fact before we dive into the first perspective, and that is the owner of ForSaleByOwner.com, pretty famous site, had to hire a real estate broker after he tried for 6 months and failed to sell his own condo. So I mean, there you go. And I don't see that as a headline on that. I did check the site to see if there was a disclaimer on there. There is none. So here's the argument for sale by owner, and we've heard this before. I already found a buyer for my home, so I don't need to list the home, and therefore I don't need a realtor. Rodney?
Yes. Finding a home. The majority of buyers find their home on their own. I think the stats show that the majority of the buyers find their home,
Yep.
whether but it's a lot of it's probably not mentioned that that's assisted with the realtor MLS. So, a lot of people find, but so they get to think, well, I found it. Yeah, well, that's the easy part. That's the easiest part a buyer has is finding. Where the realtor comes is getting it to the table now. With a price that you can afford and a price that hits the market and comes out with the appraisal. That's all the stuff. I mean So yeah, I can hear. I see them saying that, but it's not a. I see why, but since they don't know, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think that for a lot of people, when that happens, because here's how the conversation will start with me. When somebody calls and they want to do something like that, I'm thinking about selling my house. I told my neighbors, and they said their sister might want to buy it. And so, I mean, I'm like, it's already a done deal. And
yeah, I
for
mean,
them,
I don't even know why they'd even call you after that.
yeah, because they start to ask questions, and I'll tell a story about
Yeah,
that in a second. But the fact of the matter is, part of doing what real estate agents do or realtors, it's the exposure. I think that the reason they catch so quick on somebody wants to buy it is that if they found a buyer, then they think it's like job done, and they're going to the bank. That's what all they see. They see somebody wants to buy it, and then they're signing the contract, and then they're going to the bank. And that's what they see it. What they don't realize is with zero market exposure, you don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars or could be significantly more than you've lost. So here's what she says. If the sellers found the buyer, or worse yet, the buyers found the seller, which watch out for that, because they'll tell you what they're going to give you. They're not bargaining for it. There's zero market exposure. Without competition, the buyer gains significant leverage. Real estate agents create exposure and opportunity for the seller. You see these We Buy Ugly houses a lot. I mean, and I'm not knocking that industry. I'm not, it's going to sound like I am, but I'm not. Those guys, the We Buy Ugly houses folks, are very skilled at real estate negotiations. They may or may not have a license. I don't know. I don't think it's required. But they can go talk to somebody to a house that needs work and convince them that it's worth 35 or 40% less than what the market would bear. And so I think that they're unfairly beaten sellers. I mean, that's just to watch out for on that. So imagine you owned a Tom Brady signed football and your best friend offered to buy it for $900. You'd be a fool not to find out from an expert what the ball's really worth in the open market. That football is worth significantly more more in most real estate cases where there's only one off-market buyer, the deal will happen well below market value. So the FSBO seller has already set themselves up for a poor result. But here's the here's kind of the point, and I'll stop. Beyond the price in real estate, there's complex steps, like Rodney has said, and legal obligations, and there can be deal killers, and there can be court cases, and there can be visits to the judge, for buyers and sellers before closing can take place. Rarely does either buyer or seller have the knowledge and stamina, because I think I've told stories about some deals are heartbreakers. I mean, they are. But the stamina required to make a completed sale. Emotion often gets in the way too. Here's where I think a lot of times people will, I don't want to say brag, that's the wrong word, but they'll promote the idea. I sold my house by myself and it went great. I did great. They did great. And so they'll promote the idea for sale by owners to other people. And what those people that are crowing about that don't know is how much they lost. They don't have a clue. All they do know is they were able to get it to the closing table and they got some kind of money.
Right.
But they don't know what they lost.
Yeah. I'll throw in something on that point, and it's kind of, when the lawsuit took place against, the whatever against the NAR,
Yep.
They kept throwing the word collusion and all that around.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the biggest issue of the fact is like the public doesn't have access to the MLS system. Like, you have to have a realtor to access the MLS system, right? I mean, to get something listed. And see, I think that's where, and if you want to try to sell a house, think it's like throwing a rock in a lake, and then diving in and trying to pick that exact rock out, because you don't have access to any of the house. Like, nobody has access to your house.
Right.
Like, it's just listed wherever you list. And the MLS is going to put it in front of every single person that has a license and has a buyer looking in that price range. It's like an instant alert to like, people have alerts set up for your exact house when it hits there. Mm-hmm. But it only does that if you're listing with an agent. When you're for sale by owner, you don't get none of that. And that's what sells your house. If the times are so good, like they were in 20, okay, and you could sell it and you can get it to the table. And that's a very difficult proposition, right? Mm-hmm. Just to do that. But you have no idea, most people don't have a clue what they even should be listing it for, what the neighbor's house sold for, what the one down the next community over sold for, so it's literally not even comparing apples to apples when you say for sale, because that's where I think the real estate colludes at, is that the public just doesn't have access to the MLS. And if a for sale by owner could ever access that may change the story for me. But
yeah, I would say watch out for Zillow, because I mean that national portal stuff is going to be something on that. The thing when it comes to marketing, here's the deal that and I see this constantly. I mean constantly. When you're scrolling through like Instagram or Facebook or things like that, you'll see tons of properties that are advertised and say, "Hey, come look at 123 Anywhere Street down in Franklin. You're just going to love it." And people for sale by owners will see that and think that that's marketing. Versus, if it's Real Tracks, that's MLS, that's access as close as you can get. You can get in there. Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, I think is still out there. Those guys, those portals with those houses. When people are going in there, they're going with intent to look at houses. Some people are just window shoppers. That happens a lot of people like that. Some people are car shoppers, but these are window shoppers sometimes. But most of the time, people are going into those sites because they have intent. My point is, when you're looking at Facebook or Instagram and you get hit with one of those feeds, they're being promoted like it's, look, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm going to sell your house by this Instagram feed. No, you're not. No,
Yeah.
you're not. Somebody's not going to be sitting there having, just before dinner, and they're scrolling through Instagram and hey, honey, look at this bungalow. Want to buy a bungalow? That's not the way people buy houses, They're talking to Rodney, getting their acorns all squared away and getting how many boxes do we have to pack? It's intentional. Anyway, marketing is not what people think it is. That's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. Second point she made is the market is so hot, my home will sell quickly, and I don't need the help of an agent. Wrong. Sticking a FSBO sign in the yard is the beginning of dozens of mistakes that occur with professional help, without professional help. Number one, you're going to have looky-loos all day long. Hey, can I look at your house? All day when that happens. The for sale by owner sign literally advertises that you're an amateur. So if somebody is wanting to, it sounds like I'm using a scare tactic. I'm not. I'm telling you this will happen. The people that are very skilled at real estate will try to cut a deal with you before anybody else gets in there and get your house for significantly less than what it's worth. There's a lot of money at stake.
It's a screaming neon sign that says take advantage of me, honestly. I mean, you guys, real estate negotiators, are phenomenal negotiators. And it's, and it's your job to get the best deal for the client you can get. I mean, that's what your client wants. And to go in to ask for, they're just going to get taken advantage of. I mean, and they're going to get taken advantage of it when you write the contract, because they don't understand what counties, who pays fees. I mean, they don't say near enough.
And here's a trick, and I don't want to say it's a trick, but I've heard about it happening. somebody will get a seller on the hook, and they'll go to bed at some point, say, I got the place under contract, and they could be losing their shirt, but they got the place under contract. Then they start going through the inspections, and this is where those guys will really come at you. They'll say, well, the HVAC is end of its service life, or the roof is at the end of its service life, so we need to deduct $20,000, and that is not abnormal. I mean, there was a couple. I sold their house up, and it was Henderson, Goodlettsville area, and they had tried a company I won't mention that is very well known, and they were going to do that kind of we buy ugly houses kind of a thing. And that's exactly what they did. They started with a good offer, but once they did the inspection, they hit them with $40,000 worth of concessions. That's what we would call it now.
Yeah.
But they said, well, we'll do the repairs, but you take the hit on the price. And they were like, no.
Yeah.
They were smart enough not to do that. So, but people will do that. The reason that I mention that is if a person as a seller gets 50% to the home run where they're going to close, they'll give up money just to have the surety of being able to close. And it can be ugly. And it sounds like I'm doing a scare thing. I don't mean to, but just that's what happens. A couple of things. All right. So pricing is a special talent. There's zero room for emotion. Man, oh man. This takes most sellers out of the game before it even starts. Further, an agent has different perspective than the appraiser who only does deals with the value of a home, not the art of finding the right list price for a home. You know what? The number one thing that if you're like, I'm into Reddit, Reddit is the newspaper, the headlines for the internet, right? And you'll have for sale by owners, real estate, and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to sell their house, and they'll come onto Reddit trying to get advice. And here's what it is. My house has been on the market 90 days. I've priced it under appraisal and less than the other houses in the neighborhood that still won't sell.
Nobody's seeing it.
Nobody's seen it, or
unless
it's still priced
out. Nobody sees it. I mean, that's the problem with a for sale by owner, right? I mean,
yep. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, whether you like it or not, this is going to be a little truth bomb coming at you. Price fixes everything. Everything. Got no roof, price will fix that. Got a nice roof, price will fix that. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
everything. And to talk to a seller about that and they still don't agree to lower the price, they don't get it. So photography, videography are paramount. That's very important. Videos are big these days for selling a house. Proper showings are the next step. And for what people that if you're selling your house yourself, you don't realize it. If somebody wants to see the house at 2:00 on a Thursday, you got to take off work or get rid of the dog or whatever it is to show it. So that's tough. That is market's so hot. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Especially not now. the
Yes.
market's not hot. Here we go. Here we go. The third point, and I think that this is the last one. If I don't hire an agent, I won't have to pay commissions. Well, that's true.
Yes.
But you'll be paying in other ways. I mean, that just sounds horrible. I'm sorry.
And if somebody's going to come to your house, you're probably going to, one, you're only trying to save half of the commissions if you're, thinking about it, because you're going to still, their buyer commissions may be needed to be taken care of for the buyer that comes to buys your house as a for sale by owner.
Right.
And with the way things are negotiated now, I mean, things are negotiated more. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's plain and simple. So it's you'll probably get a better price than you did 5 years ago. If you're asking, the number one thing how to get a better price, you ask your agent for, a deal or whatever you call it. But I still think for sale by owners can be successful. I think it has to be a very favorable market.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, even for me, if I went and sold my house by myself, I wouldn't know. I don't have enough knowledge to know if I sold it 50,000 low, 75,000 low, or anything, especially if I was actually to get it to the table with the limited number of people I could get it in front of.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem, is that you don't know how much you lose. But to maximize your net, to maximize your money after you pay all your fees, I would 99 out of 99 times I'm going to use a real estate agent.
And the fact, but there's a it's sort of a I want to call it an ugly turn of something that you just shared. I don't know that it's ugly, but it's kind of sad. And like we said before, what you just said was somebody can close on their house and they'll never know what they lost, but they'll think that it's a win and never know the difference until they see that house. Let's say somebody flips it and turns it and sells it for an extra 100,000 with doing nothing to it. They'll go, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, what just happened? Yeah, I mean, and you don't see that often, but you see more than a few thousand. When I've seen during some of these hot markets, people are paying way over, and somebody comes in at sales price even and gets it at sales price. That may have been a bargain.
Yeah,
you just don't ever know. And that's the problem. Like if you're, me outside of a real estate agent, it's like, I want to maximize my money. And sometimes you have to spend some,
Yeah.
There is, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, what if I owned a lot, and my neighbor sold his exact tract as mine for 200,000.
Right.
And people were wanting to build out there. And if I could stick a sign and deal with a thing and sell it, maybe then, right? Maybe if you could stick it and sell it if you knew the exact price that
Correct.
you could get, then you could test your negotiation skills and see what you could do. But outside of that, I don't see it.
And that's why it's such a comforting thing when you have multiple offers and highest and best. As the seller, you got the best that you could get. Period.
Right.
I mean, it's like you can
It
go to
hit the
bed.
market.
You bet.
It tested the market. It brought the market. FSBO never hits the market. That's a big thing. It never, in their mind, it might hit the market, but it never hits competing against the houses just like it, for sale.
Yeah. And so in this article, what she says is, if I don't hire an agent, I won't have to pay any commissions. If it was a $500,000 house, and if you're talking about, I can't say commissions, I think, because somebody would come at me for some sort of you indicated the price, but X amount of dollars for a $500,000 house, it'd be really easy to lose that equal amount by underpricing your house. I mean,
yes,
you may not pay commission, but you'll pay for it in getting your net proceeds, if that makes sense.
Right. They could tie you up and then start hitting you with a bunch of inspections. They could tie you up with whatever price they want to, and then know that they're not paying that price because they're going to come back and say, "Oh, you got to do my roof or my AC for $30,000 less," and then that's that unfortunately happens all the time. And seeing some for sale by owner, you're advertised to say, "Hey, try this tactic on me because I'm not used to seeing it."
Yeah. And I mean, I can easily imagine, and it sounds like we're putting up these like fear mongers. I don't mean to do that, but this is just what happens. If somebody's got, if a we buy ugly house kind of a thing, and it doesn't mean I'm not painting them all with the same brush. I've just seen it. I've heard about these stories. I've had people call me and say, this is what's happening. How do I fix that? Because I'm not their agent at that point. I can't, it sounds, I can't, but they can threaten you with, like, if you don't fix the roof, well, then we're going to, cause trouble, and people don't know what they're getting into. But at any rate, the point to this last, if you get what you pay for, realtors have years of experience, you should be able to at least net that out, or positive, you'll get a positive cash flow on that expense. You should be able to, otherwise it just doesn't justify it. Plus, you're not having to worry about the things that you have no idea what happens behind the scenes. Rodney and I could tell you, stuff happens behind the scenes. That's all I'm saying. What we're talking about is not having to pay commissions. Add to the mix that since August of 24, that's this year when the rules changed, the argument for FSBOs have for saving commissions has literally been cut in half, just like what Rodney just said. Because everybody seems to be holding their own commission amount to, buyers and sellers seem to be separating that more. Now, sellers are carrying the lion's share of it. The sellers are still carrying it to be able to sell their house. Rodney said this a year ago when we saw this coming. Most sellers are going to still pay both sides to get their home sold. That has turned out to be true. However, at the same time, they've done studies. They're trying to everybody's watching, trying to see how much commissions have come down, and they have come down. They've moderated some. But we'll call it, I don't know what the law is on that. I need a lawyer out.
We don't need a lawyer. Nobody watches this show.
Jesus. But their commissions are losing steam. My point is, my argument to this question, if I don't hire an agent, I have to pay commissions. If you haven't learned anything from what's going on with the NAR lawsuit, like Rodney said, ask, get a commission. You can get commissions structured any way you want. Just ask. Is it flat fee? Is it whatever? But you can negotiate those commissions, which is the whole point of the NAR settlement. But so I thought this was really interesting. To finish this up, I got 2 points. And this is the author speaking. I found this user comment online on Reddit and thought it would summed up things quite succinctly. As a for sale by owner, you can always hire a specialist like an attorney to handle the part you aren't comfortable with, like reviewing purchase contracts and so forth. Also, there's hiring somebody to take photos, handling showings, inspections, dealing with your buyers and the buyer's emotions. association applications, and more. At the end of the day, you'll put in a lot of extra work and stress to save maybe a few $1,000s. If that's worth it to you, then you should do it. If not, find an agent. I mean,
Yeah.
is it worth it
That
to
is
you?
Yeah, because one of the biggest things for me is that my personality is I'm kind of one track focused. Like I have one job. I cannot have another job. I do not want another job. I don't want somebody calling me, asking me to show my house. I would want somebody. So, having a real estate agent fits in with my personality, right? Because I want to get that off my plate and say, let me know when it's sold, right? Um, so for me, that fits my personality on top of knowing the business, making good business sense. If somebody watching this replay, because this is a tricky subject, it really is. Like,
It is.
I don't
It is.
want to throw away the idea that for sale by owners are just crazy and money hungry
Mm-mm.
and all that. I mean, you're selling a house, you're selling it for money. The bottom line is your net. I just think using real estate agents get your net bigger from what I've seen over the years. But if there's a way to save money, whether it's for sale by owner, lender fees, I don't care what it is, the buyers need to explore that. But the things this article's talking about is the pitfalls that you have as a for sale by owner. You know, for me, until they change that rule, like you're never ever getting in competition with your house. You've got to put your house out there on. It's like selling. It's like the difference between selling a jacket on eBay and selling a jacket to just your friends. Okay, first, who wears my size? Nobody. So I give it to Goodwill. So nobody's going to buy an old jacket from Rodney. So, but eBay, you could put it on there. Now I have 1 million people looking at jackets that logged in to see a jacket in my size.
That's it. It's intent. Intent is
Yeah.
the secret sauce to all of this stuff. People are going there on purpose. Here's two things I want to share. This is just facts are facts. We can't really deny facts. We could, I suppose. But in 2024, the for sale by owner transaction accounted for 6%, just like Rodney said, of all home sales, marking a historic low. A historic low. This percentage has been gradually declining over the past 4 decades, down from 21%, and you can see all the footnotes there. 21% in 1985. For sale by owner homes typically sold for a median price of $380 compared to $435 with agent assisted sales. While the exact number of FSBO sales in 24 isn't specified, the NAR, National Association of Realtors, reported approximately 4.5 million existing home sales in 2023. Applying the 6% FSBO rate to similar sales volume suggests that around 270,000 homes were sold by owners without assistance in 2024. That's out of 4.5 million. I mean, that's a pretty small chunk, and
Yeah. And I would say, that probably fits with, I don't know if all 6% of those people were qualified to do it or got a good deal, but I would say about 6%, of the properties listed could go for sale by owner and not get killed. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I
yeah,
mean, it's going to be a small percentage, but there are people that can do it. Like, Angie, one of our viewers, Philip and them. I don't know if they could sell it, but they have a lot of knowledge about the
yeah,
industry and things that would put them further ahead of some other. Like I said, the problem is that you just don't get the competition when you don't get to list the MLS. When
yeah.
you don't get to multiple listing service.
And I'll bet you that the lion's share of for sales, but then we'll let it go after this. I'll bet you that the lion's share were non-arm's length transactions. I bet you that 50% of them were family members or something, you know,
Absolutely.
uncles and aunts and parents. And I mean, because, if a kid is buying a house from their quick claim deed or whatever, because that gets logged, I'm sure deed change. So anyway, but here's my final story, and it applies to for sale by owners. Sunday, I was getting ready to leave the house, and I was going to go to a state park, Harpeth State Park around here. And I hit the button on my garage door, dead. Just wah, is that sound that that it's over. And so I started doing research on garage door openers. And I'm YouTubing and I'm going, well, you know what? I could do that, I mean, and I was watching a couple of guys put in garage door openers, and I could do that. And I can imagine somebody seeing their houses selling around the neighborhood. I could do that, So I went to Home Depot, got a nice little rig for way less than what I was expecting. I mean, I was expecting this huge number. I was like, $200, that's it? For what? I'll take it, sold. And I brought it home. And I was like, I'm going to install this thing myself. And I broke open that box. And I was like, I don't think so. The bag of wires, and I lost my confidence.
So basically what you're saying is that you tried to sell your house this weekend for sale by owner and you were one of the 90% people who started out with that and then ended up with a professional.
Correct. Yeah. I'm going to call the guy right after our show. Can you come do this, Mr. Blair? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great story. It fits perfectly with, because that's what, that's the American way, baby. You go see it. And if it'd been one wire, you may have knocked it out.
Yeah, but it's not one wire. It's yikes. That was fun. Let's talk. I want to talk about one thing before we close down for the day, if you don't mind, Rodney. I found something last week, and it was called co-housing. It hasn't taken off in Middle Tennessee, but it's thriving 10 years later on in this Nashville block. Rodney, you said you had read the article and found it interesting. Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, and we can get into it, and you can read it, but the share it with everybody. But I did not know that there was a neighborhood that had a common house with neighbors.
I didn't either. To fill everybody in, to be fair, let me fill everybody in real quick here.
Yeah.
So it's a warm Friday night. Nashville's Germantown. Germantown is an area in town. It's north. It's lovely. It's really booming up there. Just a few blocks from bars and restaurants. Anyway, there's a friendly neighborhood friendliness, as is a typical Germantown Commons, a co-housing community nearing its 10th anniversary. The 25 condos quietly fenced on 5th Avenue North, nice area, really nice restaurants up there, house residents that serve on committees like the one that called for the ice cream gatherings, share the common house space and make consensus decisions. What Rodney's talking about is it's a set of condos, and I should have Google mapped this, and I apologize I didn't. But it's a set of condos that surrounds it's kind of a courtyard. And so the people the people that live there can come into the courtyard, and they're all neighbors and friends, and like they share, you got any sugar, you got any, take care of my kids, watch my pets. Yet so the 25 condos quietly fenced, got that. Yet their condos, which look out into a leafy courtyard, are not lacking any private resources. They're fully functioning homes with multiple bedrooms, bathrooms, living spaces, and kitchens. From the outside, it might not seem that different from a typical apartment complex, which I thought was interesting, which sets it apart. It's a concept about collaborative neighborhood where you actually know your neighbors, and the idea is that it makes it a better place for everybody. Katie McCament, an architect and developer known for introducing the concept of co-housing to the United States. I thought, well, that's interesting. I thought it was just a local thing. I think one of the reasons that people find co-housing so attractive is that you can, kind of choose how much community and how much privacy you need. You're adding in an easy community to plug in because of proximity. I had never heard of this. It reminds me when I was growing up, everybody wanted to be in a commune. Not everybody, but
yeah.
Does that ring a bell?
it was ending. You see, I'm 50,
Oh, that's
56. So yeah, the
you're
commune stuff. Well, when I was just in a poor section of Nashville, so it was, when you're poor, you don't have these grandiose ideas like a commune. You're just me and the neighbors are riding their bikes around.
However, as we continue with this, the idea that everybody's supposed to have a single family home that you maintain, you do all the cooking, you do all the shopping, you do raising the kids and earn the money in your little bubble. It's not the way humans ever lived. I mean, that's a commune argument. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
let's all live together. Hey, what are you doing Thursday? The co-housing offices offers an attempt at subverting the individual lifestyle. Today, there's around 180 of these communities nationwide, although only one in Nashville. I just never heard of these things.
Yeah. And you share living spaces, right? You share like kitchens and stuff.
That's not the way I read it. I read it as, and maybe you see that differently and find it if you can. I see them as individual units, absolutely like the townhomes. If you were to put it in a square, you can close your door and be in your own house. But what mostly seems to be happening in this particular example is that the courtyard is shared by everybody, not kitchens or bathrooms or anything like that. But you'll have people that become your best friends. Not everybody in the whole community will be your best friends, human nature, but you'll know everybody in the community. I'm telling you that this
Yeah.
points up how much older I am than you. But I mean, this is like this is commune city, man.
Yeah,
When
it's I like it's a pretty cool idea. It's you've always heard. I've raising two kids. I got a senior in high school and senior in college, so it's like, you hear the comments. It takes a village, and I'm like, man, that'd
yeah,
have been nice to
yeah.
have them grow up in a village because it's tough on parents getting them, doing all
Oh,
this stuff you have to do. So yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. It's like that, like that one person said, you want to go out tonight? Well, no, they'll just go out and hang out at their back stoop, or wherever it is, because they're definitely designed different. The
yeah.
community, it's not just like a regular apartment, and they back up to the whole design of this thing is a phase of it or whatever. So it's
And
pretty pretty interesting.
it's not going
And
to
I've
work
been
for
to
everybody.
Nashville my whole life, and I didn't even know that we had a mini commune in Nashville. So
Yeah, and they're building one up in Dixon. Uh, a group has been working for 5 years to establish a co-housing community, and I think that I'm right that they're individual homes,
yes,
but it's called Burns Village, and I'm telling you that there's so many jokes. I mean, this is whenever somebody, I tell you, here's something that's really common, and I know that you've heard this too. When I get calls from out of, I don't care if it's Idaho, Washington, California, whatever, if there's a group of people that are coming this way, like, here's what we want to do. We want to find some acreage. I'm like, here it comes. Is there any acreage down in Williamson County? I said, there is. How many are you thinking? Well, 5 to 10 will probably do. Okay.
yeah,
and here's where it ends up. We want to come out and build a house and then subdivide the property for mom and dad, brothers and sisters, and we're going to have a family compound. That's what we're going to do.
yeah,
And that is echoes from my era.
yeah,
We're going to
yeah.
do a commune. I mean, that happens a lot, But I just thought this was really it. Well, there you go. So Burns Village is going to be on 150 acres. That's a lot of land. But you know why they're doing that, right?
Well,
Farming.
yeah, they've got, yeah, they're going to be growing their own stuff, and
It's organic, baby.
yeah, the farmers. I like that one. The farmers trying to get that one going, and it sounded like that he didn't have any children to do a lot of his work. So that one looked like somebody wanted to get out there and have to do some farming on that.
And if I were to be, if I were a cynic, I think that I could probably guess if there were political leanings. I think I'd know which way they would go.
Really? I don't know the political affiliations of those. I'm going to say they don't vote. I'm going to say they're independents or something because
Oh,
that.
off the grid.
Yeah, this is kind of yeah, it's kind of it's not the normal mainstream red or blue. We still
Yeah,
live
you're
across
probably
the street from each other.
independent. Independence. Oh, interesting. That's what
And,
that
that's awful generous you saying I'm right on that because it was a total guess.
is. Didn't I say probably right? I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
not.
who knows?
How fun today. This was a fun day. Look at that. We got through. That was great. That was good stuff. Any final thoughts there, Rodney?
If it was that was a pretty wild topic. If somebody's got some questions about for selling, sell by owner, I'm not a real estate agent, but if you want to call and ask my advice or Andy's advice, please reach out to us. Don't matter where you're at or whatever. We'll give you an honest opinion. It's a difficult task to undertake. I'm all for somebody saving some money, but so we're here if you need help.
Got it. Rodney, thank you very much, and we will see everybody next Tuesday. See you now.
See you.